Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Jasmine. For those who are new, I'm a casual reseller on the US and Canadian Poshmark app as well as eBay. Today's video will be the first video out of a short series that I'm going to start on my channel, and that is just how to start reselling in the year 2023. Today's video will talk about some of the mistakes that I made when I first started reselling and what I wish I knew when I did start. As always, if you like reselling content like this, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. The first thing that I want to talk about is how to start your business with just $0. And that basically means taking things from your own closet and listing them. And it doesn't even have to be clothing. You could resell your household goods, your kids' toys, just basically anything that's around the house that you no longer want. Once you've built some capital with, getting rid of some of your home goods, maybe that's when you start to venture into thrift stores or other locations to start looking for inventory. Let's say there's nothing in your house that you want to sell and you actually want to invest a small amount of money into your business to start it off. I would definitely recommend setting a cap. Do not, and I repeat, do not go over this amount. Let's say you want to start off with like $200 to originally invest in your business. You can take that money and go out to source for different things and do not go over that balance. This was probably the top mistake that I made when I first started selling because I'm doing this only on the side as a side hustle. So I do have a full-time job and, I was eating away at my income from my full-time job and using that to source and to fund my business. This goes hand in hand with my tip to have separate accounts for both your reselling business and your personal account as well. That way you have a clear distinction between the two and you don't get them mixed up and you won't eat away at your other funds. And because I fell into this mistake, this led me to the next mistake, which is oversourcing. And I highly recommend that you do not oversource. This basically means that you're bringing in so much stuff into your household for your business, but you aren't able to either list it or, organize it in some sort of way, and it basically just piles up and you become a borderline hoarder. This is very difficult for me to admit, but I've basically become a hoarder of things, of secondary clothing. I could basically open up my own thrift store right now where my storage is, and I'm basically just trying to control my death pile at the moment and list, organize, and, basically just get my life back together in my business. So in other words, this second mistake is basically do not have a death pile / money pile because, it is just money sitting there. It's your money that you've paid for these items and, if it just sits there, you don't list it, it won't sell, it won't make you any money. Get rid of all those thoughts that think, what if there's another pandemic? What if I won't be able to source things for such a long time again like we did in the past few years? Do not think you are missing out on, some amazing finds that you could find in the thrift store. You can always find amazing pieces. You have to focus on what you have at home before you go outsourcing again. This is definitely advice that I have to take for myself. Another thing about death piles is that, if you have items that you bought years ago, your knowledge has expanded and grown since then, and maybe those things aren't things that you would pick up nowadays, and it's basically just things that won't sell. It might take longer to sell, but of course you need to list it before it actually does. This leads to my next topic of being organized. In an ideal world, when you have all the time that you can to invest into your business, you would go outsourcing, bring those items home, and immediately put it into a spreadsheet. That way you don't forget about the cost of those items that you spent on, you don't lose track of the items, you should put it in your inventory spreadsheet or whatever you use to organize your clothing. You should prep them if you need to prep them, list them, and put them away in whatever storage system that you have. If you are curious, I do have a video on how to do a basic spreadsheet, and I'll link it above, but I plan on making an updated one just to add a few more tips and things that I would prefer to put in my inventory spreadsheet. So look out for that video. Because I didn't do this all the time, I would have items that would sell and I wouldn't be able to find them. I did start off with some sort of like storage system. I did have a couple of bins, but I didn't number them or label them in any way, and I had no documentation of where I put certain items. So when certain things did sell, I spent a lot of time looking for certain items because I had no indication of where I put them, and sometimes I had to cancel some sales because I wasn't able to find that item. Now I'm starting to have an updated, more organized way of how I store my stuff. That way when things do sell, I can easily just pull those items out from the bin that they are stored in. The next tip is really more of a tip and not really a mistake that I made, but it's to take advantage of the free services or supplies that are available to you. You see people, like myself included, buying poly mailers to ship out your packages, but honestly, you don't have to spend any money on your shipping supplies. You can reuse things that are coming to your home whenever you order something online. You can go to your local grocery stores, dollar stores, and just ask if you can take a couple of boxes so that you can use those for your shipping. Unfortunately, in Canada, we don't have free USPS shipping supplies. If you are close to the border, you could always just go to a USPS store and pick up some supplies through that way. There are a lot of cheaper alternatives. Companies such as Stallion Express, Chit Chats, they do sell USPS supplies as well as a very discounted rate. I think it's like $2 for like 30 or something like that. So there are many ways to utilize free or very cheap shipping alternatives rather than having to spend that money on your shipping supplies. You also don't need a label printer. If you don't have one, you can just use a normal one, which I did when I first started out, and you can get those free clear like adhesive pouches from Canada Post, and you can just slip your regular paper into those packages. In addition, if you do have a label printer, I do recommend eventually investing in one just because it is a one-time thing that you have to buy, and you can get free labels from UPS, and I believe Canada Post you can get free labels as well. Another free service that is available is something that I utilize, which is Crosslist Magic, which is, I think it's in like a beta phase, so it's free at the moment, but it is basically a Google Chrome extension that allows you to cross-list in a more efficient way. And this is what I use right now just because I don't want to invest in a software or an app right now just because I am doing this casually. I don't want to have to pay for a service when I'm only sometimes using it and not, using it to its full function or capabilities. And this app is also available to Canadian platforms as well, and it cross-lists to Poshmark Canada, to Poshmark US, etc., eBay, all those other platforms. There is another free service available. It's called Flip. It's unfortunately not available for Canadian platforms, but if you do have a US platform, you can use that to cross-list. I believe it does share for you if you are into automation, and other features as well that I haven't looked into. The next mistake that I want to talk about is don't try to maximize on your profit. It is very hard to have an item and get an offer on it, but it's kind of low or it's not what you think the item is worth. But it is very important to think about cash flow, think about how long you've had that item for and whether or not it's worth it to just accept the offer. Don't do any of that, countering back and forth business. That's just a waste of time. It's, if you really want a higher amount, it's best to just communicate with the buyer and say, hey, this price is my lowest. If you're willing to meet at that, then great. If you end up thinking and changing your mind, then their offer will still be active and then you can just end up accepting it. There are multiple occasions when I received an offer and it was just a little bit too low than what I wanted, and I countered $5 more and lo and behold, they just cricketed me and didn't do anything, didn't even counter back. After Poshmark fees, that $5 is actually only $4. So really, was it worth it to lose out on a sale just to not make that additional $4? It's something for you to think about. You should also think about like how long has that item been in your closet. Maybe it's best that you just accept that offer and make sure that you recheck your comps, which is comparable listings of what has sold in the past, because maybe the comps have changed since when you first started and sourced that item, and maybe it is more similar to what that person offered. And of course, you would have your listing price higher to allow for offers. So even if somebody offers like 50% of your asking price, maybe it is actually closer to the sold comps. The next tip or mistake is do your research. When I first started reselling, it's very easy to let your own personal likes and what brands you like to affect what you source. Let's say your favorite brand is J. Crew. If you look into the thrift store for J. Crew pieces, you say like, oh, I love this brand, like I'm gonna pick it up. But in reality, it doesn't have, or it doesn't always have, the best resale value for certain pieces, and you're just stuck with a bunch of clothing that you would personally wear, but it won't be good for your business. This goes hand in hand with the mistake of, again, not checking what is selling. Watch videos such as, videos that show what people are selling, what people are sourcing, what brands to keep an eye for. And of course, not everything from certain brands that do sell well will sell. Of course, there are certain things or styles that will do better. So it is very important to do your research and don't waste your money on a brand just because it has a high retail price, because that doesn't equivalent to its resale price. And my last tip for you is don't let negativity, bring you down. It is very easy to let negative comments, rude buyers, lowballers affect your, your mood based on your business or, how you feel. I've had so many occasions where I've had, rude comments maybe, or people that are trying to scam you in some way. It is a part of running a business. Having returns is part of your business. Don't have a case opened against you bring you down and, make you feel bad about yourself. Move on and, think about all the positive aspects of starting this journey. So I think that concludes all of the mistakes / tips that I have for you if you are thinking about starting your reselling business this year, or if you are already doing this as a side hustle or doing it full time. I hope this gives you a reminder of things that you should be aware of. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!